Ancient Monuments of Egypt and Western Asia, edited by A. Sayce, London, 1891, Volume V, pages 120, 121. Therefore, if correctly identified with Pukudu, P-code would appear to have been located east of the Tigris and end of that river's confluence with the Kaka. It has been suggested that at Jeremiah 50:21 the designation P-code like Maritime possibly is a poetic name for Babylon. It is noteworthy that an inscription from the time of Nebuchadnezzar shows that Pukudu was under the control of Babylon. Therefore, when Babylon fell to the Medes and Persians, this must also have affected P-code. P has acted wonderfully. 1. Elvita assisted Ezra in reading and explaining the law to the Israelites assembled in Jerusalem's public square. He is probably the same Levite unless a representative of the family by that name is meant who attested to the covenant of faithfulness put forward shortly thereafter. NE 8. 1, 5-8. 9. 38. 10. 1, 9, 10. 2. One of the last generation of David's descendants mentioned in the Hebrew Scriptures. 1 Ch 3. 1, 5, 10, 24. Pilaliapel Liaj is arbitrating. A priest whose descendant Adaiah was among those serving at the sanctuary after the return from Babylonian exile. NE 11. 10, 12. Pilatiapel Jehovah has provided escape. 1. One of 4 Simeonite chieftains who led 500 men against Mount Seir and struck down the remnant of the Amalekites, likely during Hezekiah's reign. 1 Ch 4. 41-43. 2. Son of Benaiah. A prince of Israel whom Ezekiel saw in vision. Pelatiah, along with Yaazaniah, was scheming hurtfulness and advising bad counsel against Jerusalem. Ezekiel was inspired to utter a prophecy against the people of Israel, after which Pelatiah died. Ez 11. 1-13. 3. A distant descendant of David and grandson of Zerubbabel. 1 Ch 3. 19-21 possibly the same as No. 4. 4. A family head represented in the signatures to the covenant promising not to take foreign wives. NE 9. 38. 10. 1, 14, 22. See No. 3. Peleg division. A son of Abraham, father of Roy in the line from Shem to Abraham, and therefore an early ancestor of Jesus. Peleg lived 239 years 2269 to 2030 BCE and founded one of Otex Toi Acute Muritra Longo, Peleth 596 Peleth Peleth. 1. Arubel whose son On joined Than, Abiram, and Korah in their rebellion. New 16. 1. 2. A descendant of Judah through Jerahmeel. 1 Ch 2. 33. Pelotites Pelemiddle.ites. Loyal fighters for King David. Always mentioned with the Cherethites. When David fled from Jerusalem, because of Absalom's rebellion, which a major portion of the army supported, the Peletites went along with David across the Kidron. 2 Sa 15. 18, 23 They also helped put down the rebellion of Sheba 2 Sa 20. 7, and later they supported David's choice of Solomon as his successor, instead of siding with Adonijah as Joab did. 1 Chi 1. 38, 44 The Cherethites and Peletites were not part of the regular army, but were a separate division in the service of King David, for Joab is called the head of the army, but, separately, Benaiah was over the Cherethites and Peletites. 2 Sa 8. 18. 20. 23. 1 Ch 18. 17 Since the Peletites were not mentioned either before or after the reign of David, it may be concluded that they were his personal servants, rather than a permanent group serving the regal office. Compare 2 Sa 8. 18 and 23. 22, 23. The lack of any positive identification of the Peletites has given rise to numerous suggestions, among which are two primary schools of thought. 1. The great similarity in Hebrew between the two names Peletites and Philistines. Peletite, plus only one additional character gives Philistine is the basis for saying that they are of the same background, or perhaps that the Peletites were a branch of the Philistines. Some object to this suggestion that Philistines comprised David's personal bodyguard, but this possibility should not be wholly discounted. 2. On the other hand, the names Cherethites and Peletites may perhaps be terms designating duty or ranks of service performed by David's bodyguard, the Cherethites serving as executioners, the Peletites as runners. Such a division of runners is mentioned during the reigns of Saul and later kings. 1 Sir 22. 17. 2 K 11. 4. 2 Ch 30. 6. This second view, however, is less widely held than the first. Pelican Heb. Committal.up. The translators of the Greek Septuagint and Latin Vulgate identified the Hebrew word committal.up with the pelican. It is listed among the birds designated as unclean in the Mosaic Law. Law 11. 13, 18. The 14. 11, 12, 17. The pelican is one of the largest of the flying birds, attaining a length of over 1.5 meters, 5 feet, with a majestic wingspread of 2.5 meters, 8 feet or more. The yellowish beak is long and hooked, and the large elastic pouch beneath is scarcely noticeable when empty. Ponderous on land, the pelicans are strong, graceful flyers and have been known to have their nesting places as much as 100 kilometers 60 mi from the places of their fishing. They are superb fishers, and their webbed feet enable them to maneuver swiftly in the water. When the pelican is gorged with food, it often flies away to a lonely place, where it takes a melancholy posture, with its head sunk on its shoulders, so motionless that it might be mistaken from a distance for a white stone. The bird assumes this attitude for hours at a time, thus befitting the melancholy inactivity to which the psalmist refers when he illustrates the poignancy of his grief by writing, "I do resemble the pelican of the wilderness." PS 102. 6. Here wilderness does not necessarily connote a desert, but simply an area away from human habitations, perhaps a swamp. During certain seasons, swamps in the northern Jordan Valley are still the home of pelicans. 3 varieties of pelicans are found in Israel. The most common is the eastern white pelican Pelecanus onocrotalus. The Dalmatian pelican Pelecanus crispus and the pink-backed pelican Pelecanus rufescens are seen less often. The pelican shows a distinct preference for uncultivated places, where it will not be disturbed by man. There it nests and hatches its young and retires otextoi acute muritra longo, Pentecost 597 of Micah 2. 12. Some scholars feel that bot middle.ra also means a pen or fold. J.P. Mo. If the word should be vowel pointed slightly differently, it would correspond closely to the Arabic sirat pen. Pen, 2. An implement for writing with ink or similar fluid. When ancients wrote on clay, wax, or soft metal they used a stylus c stylus, but writing was also done on parchment or papyrus with pen and ink. 3 Jo 13. 2 Jo 12. The Greek word translated pencula middle.mos refers to a reed or cane and can literally be rendered writing reed. Among ancient Egyptians the reed pen was made with a flat chisel-shaped head that was cut or sliced so that it would act as a brush. The reeds may have been dried and hardened by leaving them under dung heaps for several months, as has been the practice in recent years. The Greeks and Romans used a reed pen that was pointed and slit, as was later done with quill pens and as has been done even in recent times with pen points. Penylpe middle.nil. The place near the ford of the Jabbok where Jacob wrestled with an angel. Hence he called the place Peniel, because there he had seen God face to face. GE 32. 22-31. The same as Penwell. See Penwell. Penina P. middle.nil Coral. A wife of Elkanah. Penina produced many children, in contrast with Elkanah's other wife, Hannah. Nonetheless, Penina was loved less than Hannah, and so she ridiculed Hannah's barrenness, especially at the time of the family's annual visits to the tabernacle. 1:1. 1-8. Pentateuch Pentamiddle.Tuch. This anglicized Greek word meaning 5 rolls or 5-fold volume refers to the first 5 books of the Bible. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Contents. The Pentateuch is a most important segment of God's written word, furnishing a solid foundation upon which much that follows firmly rests. Its first book, Genesis, gives us the inspired account of creation and also traces man's history from Eden down through much of the patriarchal era to the death of Joseph in the beginning to 1657 BCE. The second book, Exodus, begins with the death of Joseph and tells of Moses' birth during a time of slavery, of the deliverance of God's people from Egyptian bondage, and of the inauguration of the law covenant at Sinai. It includes details for the construction of the central structure for worship, namely, the tabernacle in the wilderness, historic events from 1657 to 1512 BCE. Leviticus, the third book, covering only about 1 month's time 1512 BCE, gives invaluable information about the Levitical priesthood, its ordination, and its duties, as well as laws and regulations governing the congregation's obligatory support of Jehovah's worship. The fourth book, Numbers, as its name implies, tells of the censuses taken near the beginning and end of the wilderness journey. It also gives us many details on the 40 years of wandering down to 1473 BCE and includes many laws embraced within the framework of the National Covenant. The final book, Deuteronomy, covers about 2 months' time 1473 BCE. It explains portions of the law covenant and provides many ordinances necessary for the new generation of Israelites who were poised on the plains of Moab, ready to invade and occupy the promised land. The closing chapters tell of the appointment of Joshua as leader and the death of Moses. Writership. There is no single text saying that Moses wrote the entire Pentateuch, but scattered throughout the material are explicit statements serving the same purpose. Acts 17. 14. 24. 4. 34. 27. New 33. 2. The 31. 9, 19, 22, 24-26. There are also many sections where the words are directly credited to Moses, beginning with his first recorded conversation X2. 13,